Of Face to Face, coming to you direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. And my guests this evening are no strangers to the show. They are Chathuranga Abeysinghe, representing the National People's Power, and also President's Council Maithri Gunaratne, leader of the United National Freedom Front. A very good evening to both of you gentlemen, and welcome back on the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
And we must thank you specifically this evening, because you have weathered crazy storms and incessant rains to make it to the studios to help us have our recording this evening. I want to firstly touch on that, Mr. Gunaratne and Chathuranga, because for many years we know Sri Lanka being a tropical island, we know that there are monsoonal seasons, we know the monsoon is active at this time of the year. And yet we have always been reactive when it comes to especially climate related matters and incessant rains and floods. Not so long ago we were undergoing a heat wave, we were suffering through it all, and now there are incessant rains that have caused a lot of disruptions to daily life. People are being evacuated to safe locations. Earlier today we got to know that a section of the Gampaha town is underwater. A lot of calamities are happening, and this is, I believe, the culmination of mismanagement and the culmination of not putting in place proper infrastructure that is actually required in the country, instead going for the construction of mega highways and the world's or South Asia's largest tower and whatnot. I want to touch on that first before we go into other matters. If Mr. Gunaratne can express his ideas on what sort of ignorance there has been when it comes to especially climate related matters and developing infrastructure and drainage around Sri Lanka.
Yeah, the first thing is when you take towns going underwater, especially places like Gampaha, and then at one stage it was Kandy, one stage it was Norelia going underwater. Now you would realize that urbanization is taking place extremely fast, and with urbanization comes housing and buildings and construction. So all the lands are being covered by roofs, and moreover there is now another craze where people are wanting to pave their gardens and their back areas of their houses. So it is roofs and pavings, and furthermore then roads have been constructed. All the drains which carry the water also are made with concrete. So therefore now there is no sponge effect in the urban areas for the rain to be absorbed to the ground. That is one major problem we are facing.
I see.
So if you take a roof, the water falls on the roof, it goes onto the floor, onto the road, into a drain, into the stream and to the sea. So now when this happens in a short downpour, our systems cannot take it. So this is all with regard to planning. Now when you start planning and when you start building houses, we have still not come across a system where you do rainwater harvesting. That is not being done. That can be done, because we all experienced a very serious drought maybe 1 or 2 months ago. So we have not got into that. So I would say that these are the functions of the local government authorities and the municipal councils and the local government bodies. So because these have not taken place, we are faced with these huge problems, which we will now have to spend millions and millions of rupees to rectify this. And the other thing is, now if you take Sri Lanka, we have the central highlands, and you find all the streams or the rivers flowing from the central highlands, and these are the streams which go to the sea, and all our water now is within 48 hours it reaches the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
So now we have brought in a proposal that with the highway, you mentioned the highway, after the highways have come in, there is these issues. So with the highway, now we have got a highway from Nigambo going right down to Mattala.
Yes.
And we get so many rivers which are flowing through under the highways. So one thing we can work on is developing a irrigation system along the elevated highways, because you could see the highways are elevated, and there are anyway all the highway entrance points have now been inundated with water.
Definitely.
So you can see that all these rivers are coming close to those entrance points, and these rivers are overflowing, and that is why they are flooding.
Yes.
So if we can have a system where when the Kalani river there is excess of water, we should be able to transfer it to the Kaluganga or to the Daduroya. So if we can bring in a mega irrigation project like the Mahavali, it will be a very big project right around the country, then we will be able to do a lot of damage control with regard to water and flooding, and most of the time when it is raining in the western province, there is a terrible drought in the eastern province or in the northern province. So then we will be able to channel the water to our brethren in the northern and the eastern provinces. If we plan this out, it is a big project. It is a doable project. So that is what we have to do. And if we don't think in those lines, we are as a country we are going to experience more and more calamities like that. And one more, if I may take a little, just mark the 2 minutes of your time. As you know, now there are 2-3 wars which are going on. Israel is fighting Palestine. Russia is fighting Ukraine. So there are a lot of tension all over the world, and lot of bombing is taking place. Lot of explosives are being used, and we are using. They are, as a result of it, they are using all the oxygen in the atmosphere. I mean, the atmosphere belongs to all of us. We are living in this world. I mean, it belongs to all of us. So the prescribed level of oxygen in the atmosphere is about 21%.
Right.
Now, because of these wars, and they are taking in using a lot of oxygen, our oxygen levels are slowly coming down. From 21%, we have lost about 0.4% of our oxygen levels.
They're
depleting. So if this continues, if these wars continued, you don't need an atom bomb or whatever to destroy the human race.
Yes.
Moment the oxygen levels come down to about 19%, we will start dying. All the human beings, the human system cannot survive without that amount of oxygen. So we will automatically start dying. So these are the dimensions which all of us have to be aware of, and we have to work together to see that this is going to be stopped. No war can go on, and we have to plan and see that water is not wasted, because it is going to be one of the most precious commodities in another 5 to 6 years.
Certainly very interesting prognosis. I want to direct the same question to Chathuranga as well, to express your ideas on the matter, Chathuranga.
Yeah, firstly, I think the main responsibility of a state is its citizens, and we've lost 12 yesterday, right? So that's very bad as a nation. So when you solve problems, you need to understand there's a problem, and I don't think none of the governments that ruled us for the past many years has recognized this as a problem. People dying, children dying, people going underwater,
especially preventable deaths.
Yeah, it's not their care. It's not under
their
care,
priority.
Right? So number one priority is, for any government that comes up, every place is known. These are not calamities like tsunami. These are things that you can predict. These places are going to go underwater.
It has happened before also.
Yeah, and if you go to aerial digital camera and you just map it out, you would know which house is going to go underwater. And today there are 30 landslides, and these are known places. And as a society, if we can't find proper places for them, such a weak nation, aren't we? Right? So maybe it's a government's problem, but as a society, we have failed.
No, as a country, we have failed.
We have failed to provide safety to our people. So there are certain basic needs like health, education, and all that, but a proper place to live, a safe place to live is also a fundamental right.
Yes.
So that is where I would start my conversation. So we have neglected it. And the other real reason why things are getting worse and worse is that we don't adhere to our 1981 environmental.
Right.
Right. There's an act that can help us to prevent a lot of these things.
I see.
And as Mr. Maithri said, the urban planning is not there.
Nil. It's nil.
Urban planning is equal to the mayor, right? He will sign off any document if he knows the person. I mean,
And it's money.
I live in Kotte, right? So we know how the most precious the marshlands has been now filled up with soil, and how the high skyscrapers has been built up. I mean, Rajagiri will go under after another 2 days of rain, which should not. But things like Ratnapura, the Gampahas, and all these are very known places. So my thing is, we need to prioritize. Whoever it is in power now, you need to prioritize. Next year nobody dies. That is number one. And secondly, it's not about predicting tomorrow, day after. Now there's a huge conversation, if the Met department had such kind of a technology, they could have prevented. No, it's nothing like that. There is enough technology now. Even now you can see in your phone, you can see the levels of water rising in all our rivers, right? So that is not a magic thing, but it needs authorities to take smart decisions at the right time. And the solution is to providing the vulnerable people good places to stay. And if they want to risk their lives and stay in the places they are, you need to find a resolution collectively to mitigate the risk, even it's permanent or temporary. The other piece is, we need to go backwards now. We have gone so far killing the environment and also ensuring that there is no drainage system. As Mr. Maithri clearly said, we had a natural drainage system. So as an island, we do have that. And now it's been urbanized or blocked up. So that is where these big floods are coming through. So anyway, this needs a strategy, and what I would say is that we need a short-term solution. 3 to 4 year solution to ensure nobody dies next year. That's where we would look at as a priority.
So, while both of you were expressing your opinions, I found it ironic that if you take our president, he has been preaching to the international stage about climate change, climate financing, establishing the coastal belt, constructing a climate change university in Sri Lanka, but he hasn't, I don't know, according to my opinion or the knowledge that I have, it seems as if very scant regard has been paid to addressing the issues of the Sri Lankan people and ensuring that their houses are not flooded and their lives are protected from any sort of rain. Yes, we understand that we cannot predict incessant rains. We might be able to, but even in countries like Dubai, we saw how flooding was affecting a lot of lives. But at the same time, it is very, I believe, incumbent on the government to take a look at the trends and see which areas are flooding, which areas can be restored, and what sort of infrastructure needs to be put in place. So, and in your remarks, Mr. Gunaratne, you mentioned that provincial councils and local government authorities are the ones who are aware and who have a more keen sense and understanding of how these matters can be addressed. But as we speak right now, provincial councils and local governments are dismantled and they are being looked after by governors in the country. And that brings me to the other question, the importance of elections, the importance of allowing the people to exercise their franchise and to provide a mandate to those they believe will guide Sri Lanka into a better path. So again, there has been a lot of things that have been said regarding elections. Even very recently, the General Secretary of the United National Party, Chathuranga Bandara, caused a bit of a controversy by saying that the country should delay its elections by 2 years. And yesterday he justified the fact also, saying that it should go for a referendum and not for an election. I want to gauge your opinion on what his statement is.
Now these are extremely responsible statements made by Mr. Chathuranga Bandara. We are basically, as a nation, we are beggars. We have gone to the IMF begging and we have been partially successful. IMF, some of the conditions are transparency, democracy and no corruption, good governance. Okay, so whilst we are begging from one side, what we are trying to do from the other side, people like Chathuranga Bandara, who represents the president's own party, the General Secretary of the United National Party, he comes out with the most outrageous, most undemocratic statements saying that they are going to delay elections within 2 years, for 2 years.
Maithri, I would disagree with you that it's not Range Bandar, it's the strategy of the party itself. We can't say that Ranil did not know that he is making this
So what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to come to is Chathuranga. Now, okay, if Ranil is serious, if the president is serious, he must come out and say, look here, Range Bandara, I dissociate myself with what Range Bandara is saying. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. We are on an IMF program. We have promised the IMF that there is going to be good governance, there is going to be transparency, all that.
Yes.
So if he is not doing it, then he is only showing that he is also part of this whole program. So what I am saying is, the best thing would have been for him to have the local government election. If he had the local government election without saying that they didn't have money to have it, and postpone it, he would have been in a better position. He would have been in a better position. If he had a parliamentary election before the presidential election, he would have been still in a better position. Still, it may not be too late. But if he thinks that he is going to do all these undemocratic things and have a presidential election, and if he thinks that he can win the presidential election, I mean, good luck to him.
So and it's impossible, right? So one way, he is not at all from a mandate from the people.
The people's mandate,
right? The mandate for the Poddu Janeksat Peramuna ended with Taragale. And even the parliament, right? The cabinet resigned. And he is under the clutches of, 134 SLP MPs, right? So it is naive to think that he can run the country, this temporary, what do you call is this? The
interim,
thing, right? So, and you try to extend it, and there is no provision to it. And it is also, if he thinks that he can win the presidential election, he should have the presidential election. So if he's discussing a referendum, he's going to lose big time, because the entire opposition is going to get against that, and there is no chance he's going to get 50% of a referendum. So what's going to happen is, we are going to have 2 elections instead one, burning 20 billion.
That's right.
Right, because he's going to lose the referendum with 10 billion, and we again going to have the presidential election on October, burning another 10 billion.
So it's going to do more harm than
good. Of course, it doesn't going to make sense. I think he just tried his luck.
They want to gauge public opinion.
They want to gauge how the international community responds, how the locals are responding, how his supporters are responding. I think they got it smashed in a day.
No, the other thing is, if he's serious in winning an election, why can't he do the right thing? Right. Whatever said and done, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, as Chathuranga said, didn't have the proper mandate. He has no electorate to go and be responsible to. Okay. So he has the rare opportunity of having no compulsions like that. He has the rare opportunity to put this country right. But all he has to do is the right thing. But has he done the right thing? Now, if you take after he came into power, the health minister got caught red-handed bidding in substandard medication.
Still in remand.
And still in remand. Now, people had to go and protest in front of the CID
to get him arrested.
I mean, does anyone say that the president did not know, or the president could not get a report from the interim report from the CID to see whether this minister was involved or not? We'll say, if he got a report, and if he found that prima facie this guy is involved, he should have initiated the arrest and got him produced in court.
That would have
the right thing is, it's not to influence him to get into the courts, at least to ask him to resign until the legal matter is done. That is how the leaders should work, right?
That is how they should work, and if he did it, his credibility would have gone up. Then the second instance, the passport, the visa issue. Now, I mean, these politicians think that we are the center of the universe, and every person in the world is clamoring to come to Sri Lanka, and we need to have strict visa regulations, we need to have big prices to get our visas, and we are trying to make it very
stringent
difficult.
process, yes.
Stringent, and you know, when you go to the customs or when you go to the immigration or when you go to any government department, they are not the most friendliest people you can ever find. I have not traveled recently, but when I have traveled some time ago. When you go to the immigration, they are very, very unfriendly people. But now, when you have a massive cost
on top of that,
to pay, who is the one who wants to come to Sri Lanka? When you can go to Thailand without a visa, when you can go to Dubai without a visa, when you can go to Maldives without a visa, what have we got to offer? And you come to our airport, our immigration is unfriendly. You come to our airport, our duty free is unfriendly, our customs is unfriendly. Then you come out of the airport, there are people like the taxi drivers and the Uber drivers and the van drivers, they are fighting to get customers. So, what is the first impression we are creating to anyone coming into Sri Lanka? It's a joke. If we are talking of getting our tourism done properly, all this have to be regularized and it has to look decent. Now, you go to Singapore, you go to Malaysia, you go to Thailand, any country you go, it's a very pleasant experience to enter the country. Here is one of the most unpleasant experiences to enter Sri Lanka. So, now when this visa thing came in, he should have found out who is behind it. And I am told that the immigration department, how bad they are with regard to their PR, they have done the visa issuance without a problem, without charging a red cent.
Since 2012.
And Mobitel has done some app or something like that, software which has without any cost.
To issue online
visas.
Sri Lanka.
So, having done all that, now if this visa charge, I was told it's something like $20 or $25.
Yes.
There has to be kickbacks. So, if there are kickbacks, it is the president's duty to see that these kickbacks, whom it is going, get them out of the cabinet and show the people.
Not turn a blind eye.
No, don't turn a blind eye.
Until the
people go and start. So, if he is acting in this manner, I doubt it he will be able to get his credibility up and running. That's basically what I feel of the present situation.
Right. So, coming to the more political angle of the conversation and what your individual parties have been doing, Chathuranga, we know the National People's Power undoubtedly has gained a lot of traction, especially over the past few years, and you have been holding a lot of forums here in Sri Lanka as well as overseas, and more recently the NPP's Engineers Forum was held. But one allegation or one criticism that your opponents are making is that the National People's Power still has failed to publish a policy document. And they keep on harping on that fact, saying that the NPP still doesn't have a proper plan despite them having this large wave of support and whatnot. Firstly, can you address those claims and also tell us what sort of outcomes came from the Engineers Forum that held?
So basically, I think if you go back to a very recent history, 2019, NPP was the only party which gave a comprehensive policy. So we had about 30 areas that was covered in a very big book, right? But at that point, where the country was and how those policies work, the policies will remain intact, but the actions that we proposed are not relevant for today. That need to be changed. So we started this policy revamping process about 6 months ago.
I see.
So now all of our the committees who are looking at each of those sectors have finalized. We last month had the final versions of it. Now we are trying to integrate, because every policy has an interconnection. Now if you take agriculture, has a environmental connection, and then the education has a connection to tourism, and then the IT sector has a connection to governance.
Multiple sectors,
right? So all these are integrating, and that is where the delay in the economic policy. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? So you need to get all these and make it a comprehensive policy.
There is no
to
hurry.
put it up,
the elections
right? So we don't have
we
don't have any rush to do it, and we will also have promised people that whatever the document that you are going to put, it will be also, we can see how people can hold us accountable for that, right? So I think general public is not so concerned about it, rather than few media and especially Samagi Janapalabege trying to make a noise out of it. I think they do have something called a blueprint, which is also not very precise on what actions. There's a policy around it, a direction. So likewise, now the engineering teams, we have about 2,000 odd engineers now gathered around
the
NPP. So what we did was we put forward a policy framework and a direction, explaining our vision, the problem and the direction we are taking for public consultation. So now we have put construction, digital technology, energy, maritime and telecommunication, which we feel will be very key pillars in growth of Sri Lanka. Right. So that is why we brought it forward. So now this document is online, and the way that NPP looks at now, for example, IT, we feel that will be the front runner, because all other manufacturing sectors we can't grow beyond a certain extra. I mean, we have a potential. Now we are doing 12 billion, maybe we can do about 20 billion, 25 billion. But the IT has the
most
ability to
growth.
And secondly, the tourism sector, right? So likewise, and then we have huge opportunity in the maritime industry in terms of the even providing labor as well as the shipments and the trading. So likewise, and then the construction industry, how to take Sri Lankan construction industry out of the country, right? Because we have been only working locally, and then the telecommunication. You work in telecommunication. We know we have not modernized our telecommunication. It's monologue, right? So we have to make it digital, and then we need to make the cinema industry, the media industry to the levels that the world is looking
on
for.
par
Now,
with international
if you take
standards.
India, we have the best locations, right? So they come here and produce and take the whole film to Singapore to do the rest of the
final
work,
production,
right? So we have not invested enough in this. So we wanted to showcase that where the NPP is looking at and what kind of improvements in this area where the private investments can come into, because none of these industries can be done by government, and all of these need regulation, right? All these 5 sectors we put forward is for private investors to come and play. So this notion of NPP is going to do everything through state, it's a myth. So I think people can now engage. That is why we put as a concept paper. So now the rest of the people who know better than us or who has better ideas now can contribute to our committee, so that we can evaluate it, and before the election we can check and adjust. So likewise, the education, the health, the industrial, the SMEs, all these policies will come one by one nicely,
and then they will be amalgamated.
So I think the people who are watching has to keep watching, because you can't do anything, because we have organized it very nicely. We've organized the local the experts as well as international experts. So one thing that to look forward, this 29th, the Sri Lankan and international scientists of Sri Lanka will come together under NPP
in Colombo.
In Colombo, and will be the first ever Sri Lankan policy on R&D. Because if we are to go forward, we can't do the things that we are doing today, right? So the R&D has to play a huge role if you want to take a big portion of the economy. Because I think what's going on now is we are going to be satisfied with the middle income country. What Ranil is trying to do. And so likewise, what I'm saying is that is there. And so the organizing parties, right? So the people who are dying for policies, you will have the best version of how to build Sri Lanka under 34 areas, not one. And these 34 need to get accounted into the budget, right? Because you can't have just all fancy stuff that
going in without funding for it.
So likewise, so it will take a little bit of time for us to get the economic policy out, but the concept is very clear. We would follow the paths of the fast growing economies like South Korea, Vietnam, India. So it will be private investment led, government supported. Not only government supported in facilitation, but the government will also support in low cost of manufacturing inputs like energy, transportation, telco and banking. Government will play a very significant role, ensuring that it's regulated and there's a fair competition and there is no super profits in that industry.
Area, there are no monopolies.
So that the private industries can prosper. Today they are struggling even with their exports with a huge energy cost. Now one of the good things people should look is that our policy to reduce the energy cost. Now we are at 13 cents per unit.
Yes.
So our proposal is to bring it to 8
Okay.
cents. And how do we do it is for discussion, and we have put it for, because if you bring the energy cost down, that is where the service industry and the manufacturing
Can
both
thrive.
will prosper.
Right.
With this energy cost, nobody will come to Sri Lanka to invest.
They're not coming.
They are not coming.
So, in essence, the best is yet to come
Yeah.
for the NPP. Right. So, moving my attention to Mr. Gunaratne, last week your party, led by your party, launched a new initiative, the United National Freedom Front. In case you weren't aware, he is currently donning the party's colours today as well, yellow. And
It's news for me. Yeah.
so last week, Mr. Gunaratne, there was a new initiative that was launched, spearheaded by the UNFF, which is called the Consortium of Like-Minded People, Ekarupi Samuhaya in Sinhala. I want to get your opinion on what this hopes to achieve. Is this a socio-economic movement? Is this a political movement? Tell our viewers a bit about the...
Now, firstly, I must thank Chathuranga for enlightening us on the NPP's policies. And I mean, if it is policies like that, and they are all very, very progressive policies. I mean, I think that's a good thing. It's good news, because there is a lot of fear and speculation that these policies, they are going to take it backwards. So I'm glad that people like Chathuranga are in the NPP, and they are bringing in new thinking and new dimensions towards development, because otherwise going backwards is not a
new angles of policy formulation.
It's not a way forward. So
and it's open for everyone. I mean, we need to fix this country.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, as a political party or as an individual, what is good has to be praised and appreciated. On the other hand, your question with regard to this like-minded consortium, now with all the political surveys done, there is a result saying that there is about 40 to 45% of the people who still have not decided whom to vote for.
Right.
And they are basically not convinced of voting for any of these people, any of the political parties who have been holding power.
Okay.
So this is an occasion in our long history of 76 years where we have come out of party lines, from the Greens, from the Reds, from the Blues, and the floating vote seems to be getting larger and larger with every passing day.
Right.
And I think the Aragalaya, the concept of the Aragalaya was to get rid of this 225, bring in a system change and see that this country progresses. But after the Aragalaya, I think that Aragalaya's cry ended when the Rajapaksas were ousted, and then thereafter they were not united enough to take it forward.
Yes.
So the cry still remains there, but there is no one to take it forward. So why we started this like-minded consortium or the Ekarupi Samuhaya is, if you go to any place, there are people discussing, we need a system change, we need a new face to come in, we need new people to come in.
Yes.
So there is a big demand that a new force will emerge. So in the light of that expectation of the voter, we thought that we will speak to all groups. There are so many groups who have started and who are discussing, 10, 15, 20, 30 people who are discussing as to how we should change this country and what we should do. So what we did was, I mean, when you talk to people and say, you come into politics, they want to run away. They don't. That's the last thing they want to do. No one wants to do politics. So how does one change the country, bring in a system change, if the good people don't come into politics? So this is a chicken or egg situation. I mean, good people don't want to come into politics. They want to have system change. They want the country to develop. They want it to be a developed country.
Someone has to do it.
Someone else has to do it.
Yes.
So that is never going to happen. That is never going to happen. Yes. So as a result of that, we thought, I mean, this is maybe a long shot, but we thought we will we will start this.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. At least if at the next parliamentary election, if we can get 3 members from a district elected, I am positive that no government will be able to be formed without our support. So there we will be able to get in the system change. And what we are looking for is, we are looking for successful people. And now, for instance, if we were to leave this country, we could have left this country now.
Yes.
But we have decided to stay and stick it on, fight it, and bring this right back to its normal, its old glory.
Yes.
So that is the most important thing. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm a lawyer by profession, been in practice. So I have a comfortable life. There is no problem. But what we are trying to do is, we are trying to collect all these people. We need good people to come forward, take on this challenge, take on Project Sri Lanka. Take on Project Sri Lanka, because this is a country blessed with so much of natural resources, blessed with people, intelligent people. I mean, we have been cursed with a set of politicians who have ruined this country in these 76 years. So if all of us don't get together, and if all of us don't want to change it, then of course, don't complain. My thing, don't complain. If you don't want to, if you want change, if you are not going to participate in
Take that step.
If you are not going to take that step, then please don't complain. That's what I have to say.
So, has the consortium of like-minded individuals been in conversation
Yes,
with
in
political
fact,
parties?
I'm coming after a meeting, after our meeting, our last Tuesday.
I see.
And I mean, what I said was, what any consortium or any gathering, you need to meet and you need to know each other, because you're talking.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, and you're talking of running a country. Running a country is also not an easy thing. So what we need to do is, we need to work together. And what we suggested is, let us try to work in consensus. No voting. We will take collective decisions, because if all our intentions are the same, then if we are trying to do the right thing for the country, no one can be opposed to it. No one can be opposed. If it is collectively good for the country, no one can
interest
oppose
of the people.
So vis-a-vis that, there is agreement. So it's a bit of a slow process, but I think all of them who came, and there was about 10 groups who came today, and they seem to be very positive.
So, judging by tonight's conversation, I feel like the two of you are also very like-minded people. So, why doesn't the NPP and the consortium of like-minded individuals have a conversation?
Let them form, right? It's not an easy thing. I think what we understood this in 2019 also. I was also part of various alternative discussions. But what's so easy for us to come into NPP was because it has the network, the structure, the discipline. So it was easy to build on that platform. I think it's a hard way up for Mr. Maithri, and so, but in the case of, if we can agree for a common policy and what needs to happen,
we have no issues.
I mean, it doesn't need to be in an election you have to go together, but even in the parliament you can.
So maybe face-to-face can be the ground where new alliance is forged.
As he said, right? If now, for example, if we can agree on how our production economy needs to go, what is our strategy on energy, what is our strategy on tourism, what is our policy on good governance, what is our policy on transparency, how do you digitize the government sector? If we can agree on common things.
The issue is, if it is people of the caliber of Chathuranga who is doing it, I don't think I have any problem. But I don't know, I mean, sorry for, I don't know with how much control that in the NPP people like Chathuranga will have, and or that group of people.
It's very unfair to distinct that, because
so that is my concern.
After you.
That is my concern, because I would say 90% or maybe 90% of the NPP is the JVP. And the JVP has a different connotation to all this. I mean, when I hear Chathuranga speaking like this, I mean, it makes me very comfortable. It makes me very comfortable. But when you know that there is another group who is completely opposed to this kind of thinking,
don't think so.
Right? I hope it has changed. I hope it has changed.
No,
it's great. Then that is what is
That's the missing link for you.
That's
So,
that's
yeah,
the
I
missing
mean,
link.
So,
I
Chaturanga, would you
understand
like to-
from you.
Yeah,
I think
so
I
that-
should
and-
because
yeah,
the audience
and
is
that the
also
audience is
getting
also having that same
confused.
issue.
Yes.
So I
The same
think
issue.
if I give you a very simple answer to that, it is not NPP who created. It's not us who created NPP. It's JVP who led it. They had the vision of getting the parliamentary power through a wider alliance of like-minded people, as you say.
right.
And how do you get like-minded people? Is you have to put a document in front, right? You have to get, as you correctly said, multiple various ideas.
Yes.
You need to come to a common consensus. So we are working on that, and nobody is derailing on that document or the policy. So I mean, if you listen to Anura recently on his 1 hour speeches, it's no different to what I say here,
Right.
and none of us contradicts. But the thing is, the words that we use, how we try to explain it, probably there are variations,
delivery of your opinions.
variations. So I think let's work on the policy that put forward, and JVP as an entire organization has clearly understood this country has not benefited from the growth trajectory of the world.
Right.
Now we have to take it there. I mean, if anybody is worried about socialism, capitalism and all that, right? So basically the whole world has a journey from a primitive social communism to primitive capitalism
Yes.
to strong democratic capitalism to socialism. That's how it moves, right? So you need to achieve that state in order for you to progress the society.
There had to be a balance.
Right, so it needs to progress. So that is why we have clearly said we will take the roots of the fast growing nation. So it's very clear to everyone, and the government involvement will be on the regulation and certain selected areas. So this is being depicted by entire JVP. So JVP is part of NPP.
yes.
So that is one thing I want to add. I don't know how much on time, but we need to.
Yes,
I
yeah.
need 2 minutes to highlight something for the people. Now this non-mandated, no people participated government, which is Ranil Wickremesinghe government, which has about 4 months, and he is trying to bring everything that he has in his mind to constitution. So this is a big problem, right? So this Economic Transformation Act, which is being tabled, is something that on his head, thinking that everything else has to remain independent of how the economy needs to transform, right? And it is against the constitution of the rights of the people, and so therefore we today filed a petition why it is against the constitution and why it derails the institutions we have, and especially the Organization of International Trade.
Right.
So they are trying to remove that powers they already have, remove that power from the Department of Commerce and trying to give it to a team. Now it's under Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, right? So now they are going to institutionalize it,
Right.
so that there is no connection to the cabinet.
Okay.
So it's like cabinet has to be there just as the cabinet
Puppets, as like-
puppets, and there are few commissions under president who will run
Will
the
be governing
economy.
the country, yes.
And also it is not done through a mandate of the people.
They are responsible to Parliament.
Yeah, so
ultimately.
these are the biggest issues that we have to face now, and I think these changes won't be able to done within next few months, and that is why probably they are asking 2 more years,
2
and
more years.
it is not right to do it. And I think anybody should take a mandate from people, put their economic policy and changes to constitution, get a mandate and do it, and we won't fight, right? If people have said yes to all these changes, why
Then
should
you
any
wouldn't contend
opposition
it.
fight? We should wait until next 5 years,
Yes.
right? So I think that is something the public need to understand. This is forced changes. It's not possible, and we won't allow that also.
Right. Thank you very much, Chathuranga Abeysinghe, representative of the National People's Power. And my other guest this evening was President's Council Maithri Gunaratne, leader of the UNFF. Thank you very much, gentlemen,
Thank
for
you very
joining me
much
this
for-
evening, sharing very insightful thoughts and also your candid views on everything. I hope you all the very best in
Thank you
your
very much.
political
Thank you very
journeys. Hope to see you soon as well.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was
Thank
on
you.
Face to Face this evening. Do take care and have yourselves a great evening.
Thanks.